Get ready to dive into the epic story of Alexander the Great and his world-conquering adventures. With the mighty fortress of Tyre finally conquered, Alexander the Great marched his army south towards Egypt. Only one major city dared to stand in his way: the ancient stronghold of Gaza. The exact figures for ancient cities like Gaza are difficult to determine due to the lack of contemporary records. However, based on historical estimates and the scale of the siege, Gaza likely had several thousand inhabitants, possibly ranging from 10,000 to 20,000 people. The city was heavily fortified and garrisoned with 15,000 troops, including Arab mercenaries under the command of Batis. In 332 BCE, when Alexander the Great besieged Gaza, the city's population and religious practices were shaped by its role as a strategic fortress under the Achaemenid Persian Empire. At the time of Alexander's siege, Gaza was under Persian control, and its elite and administration likely followed Zoroastrianism, the state religion of the Achaemenid Empire. The local population, including Arab mercenaries and native inhabitants, may have practiced a mix of Semitic polytheism, local Canaanite traditions, and possibly early forms of Judaism, depending on the demographic makeup. Religion played a significant role in the siege, with both sides invoking divine support. Alexander himself was deeply influenced by Greek religious beliefs and saw his campaign as divinely ordained. When Alexander laid siege, the Gaza was perched high on a mound and defended by a formidable commander named Batis. Gaza was ready for a fight. Its Arab mercenary garrison was fierce, and its walls were strong. The siege, in late 332 BCE, tested Alexander's engineering prowess yet again, and saw him suffer a serious wound, fueling his fury against the defiant city. With the mighty island fortress of Tyre subdued after a grueling 7-month siege, Alexander the Great's path southwards along the Levantine coast towards Egypt seemed clear. Most remaining towns and cities, awed by his relentless determination and the brutal fate of Tyre, offered little resistance. However, one final stronghold stood defiant: Gaza. This ancient city, a vital trading post on the fringe of the desert connecting Syria with Egypt, was determined to resist the Macedonian conqueror. Its defense would be unexpectedly fierce, culminating in a difficult siege and another display of Alexander's wrath. Gaza was strategically positioned on a prominent tell, or artificial mound, rising significantly above the surrounding plain, making it a natural fortress. Its walls were strong, and it was well stocked with provisions. The city's defense was entrusted to a formidable commander named Batis, described in ancient sources as a eunuch of immense physical strength and unwavering loyalty to Darius III. Batis commanded a substantial garrison, composed primarily of hardy Arab mercenaries, well suited to the arid conditions and known for their ferocity. He had meticulously prepared for a long siege, confident that the city's high position, strong walls, and the difficulty of siege operations in the sandy terrain would deter or defeat Alexander. Batis also likely hoped that his resistance would buy valuable time for Darius to regroup his forces further east, or that aid might arrive from Egypt or Arabia. When Alexander approached Gaza in September of 332 BCE, he found a city ready for a determined fight. His initial assessment, shared by his engineers, was that the city's walls were too high and the mound too steep to be easily assailed by conventional battering rams or siege towers directly from ground level. The loose, sandy soil around the base of the tell also presented a significant challenge for moving heavy siege equipment. Alexander, however, was not one to be deterred by such obstacles. If the city walls were too high, he would simply raise the ground level around them. He ordered the construction of massive earthwork mounds, or agars, similar to those used at Tyre, but on an even grander scale, completely encircling the city. The purpose of these mounds was to bring his siege engines, battering rams, and towers up to the same height as Gaza's walls. This was an enormous undertaking, requiring vast amounts of earth, timber, and relentless labor from his soldiers and conscripted workers. The construction proceeded under constant harassment from the defenders on Gaza's walls, who rained down missiles, arrows, javelins, and stones on the Macedonians. Batis and his Arab mercenaries also launched frequent and aggressive sorties, attacking the workers and attempting to destroy the siege engines. During one such sortie, Alexander himself was seriously wounded. While directing operations near the mounds and encouraging his men, a bolt from a catapult on Gaza's walls struck him in the shoulder, piercing his shield and breastplate. The wound was deep and painful, causing considerable bleeding and forcing him to withdraw from the front line for a time. This injury, far from discouraging Alexander, reportedly only fueled his anger and determination to punish Gaza for its stubborn resistance. The incident also served as a stark reminder to his army of the dangers their king constantly exposed himself to. As the siege mounds grew higher, reaching the level of the city walls, the Macedonians brought their powerful siege engines into play. Battering rams pounded relentlessly, while siege towers, bristling with archers and catapults, provided covering fire and cleared defenders from the ramparts. The defenders, under Batis's resolute command, fought back fiercely, repairing breaches, dousing fires set by incendiary missiles, and continuing their counterattacks. They also employed innovative defensive measures, including attempting to undermine the Macedonian siege mounds by digging tunnels beneath them, a tactic that had some initial success in causing sections of the mounds to collapse before Alexander's engineers countered it. After several weeks of intense effort, likely in October 332 BCE, the Macedonian siege engines finally created significant breaches in Gaza's walls. Alexander, now recovered from his wound, ordered a general assault. The first waves of Macedonian attackers were repulsed with heavy losses by the desperate defenders. However, the Macedonians, driven by their king's presence and their own fury at the prolonged resistance, pressed on relentlessly. Eventually, they overwhelmed the defenders at the breaches and poured into the city. The fall of Gaza was followed by a brutal sack. The Macedonian soldiers, frustrated by the long siege and the casualties they had suffered, showed little mercy. Most of the Arab garrison was slaughtered, fighting to the last man. The male citizens of Gaza were killed, and the women and children were sold into slavery. This harsh treatment mirrored the fate of Thebes and Tyre, reinforcing Alexander's policy of making terrifying examples of cities that offered stubborn resistance. The fate of Batis, the valiant commander of Gaza, is a subject of grim legend. According to the Roman historian Curtius Rufus, Alexander, enraged by Batis's defiance, and perhaps by the wound he had received, subjected the captured commander to a horrific death. Emulating Achilles' treatment of the vanquished Hector, Alexander allegedly had Batis's ankles pierced, thongs passed through them, and then had him dragged alive behind his chariot around the city walls until he was dead. While this brutal story is recounted by Curtius, other primary sources, like Arrian, do not mention it, leading some modern historians to question its authenticity or to suggest it might be a later embellishment designed to highlight Alexander's capacity for cruelty when provoked. However, given Alexander's known temper and his reverence for Achilles, the tale, even if exaggerated, reflects a potential dark side to his heroic persona. The capture of Gaza, after a siege lasting approximately 2 months, removed the last significant obstacle on the road to Egypt. The immense plunder taken from the city, a major trading hub, was sent back to Macedon, further enriching Alexander's treasury. With the entire Levantine coast now firmly under his control, from Asia Minor to the Sinai Peninsula, Alexander was ready to advance into the ancient and wealthy land of the pharaohs, confident that his lines of communication were secure, and that the Persian navy had been effectively neutralized in the eastern Mediterranean. The last stand at Gaza had been costly for its defenders, but for Alexander, it was another step towards his ultimate goal. I really hope you enjoyed our vlog. If you did, go ahead and smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more fun content. Take care of the people and the environment around you. And yes, go out there and make it an absolutely amazing day, okay?